Yo, what is up, guys? My name is YuGiOh Days, and I'm finally back from my dead time out of YouTube. I kind of been doing this not intentionally, but every other week I kind of just barely upload, and then I upload a whole bunch, and I barely. I'm just gonna probably keep doing that until I find enough content to make. Because if you didn't know, for a budget player like myself, making a lot of good content with getting all the cards is really hard. But today, guys, I got a new age Zoodiac build for you guys. Now, I know a lot of you guys probably don't play this kind of deck, but this is probably the only one I've seen that's not really like at like an event that the guy just won and like someone's doing a review. I've seen another guy do this build, but his build is very different than mine. Or do this deck, very different build. My build is sort of consistent around hand traps. We only run 4 hand traps, and it's kind of a little bit of a weird hand trap setup, but I'll explain what one that you don't actually run the ones that I'm running, but it basically symbolizes hand traps in the meta. So let's just get into the profile, guys. Okay, guys. So with this first little lineup, now before we continue on, guys, the side deck is not actually complete, so there is not going to be a side deck for this video. I may have to update that later. Also, guys, these two right here, I'm just going to call these hand spells. They're not exactly hand traps, but they're just cards that you use from your hand to get a different monster on the field. You don't actually use the monster that you summon for anything, maybe, or other than like what you're trying to get out of it, but we'll get into that in a second. So right off the bat, we have 4 different of the best hand traps in my opinion right now. So right off the bat, we have Ash Blossom, which is really powerful. If you're not running 3 of this, are you really trying to win, or your budget? Like myself, why I only have 1. Ghost Ogre is actually a really valuable card for budget players because it's really accessible and cheap. They're $10 each, which is sort of cheap. You can actually build like a deck for 30, or you can get 3 Ghost Ogres. But once you already have like your $30 deck, and you get another $30, it's just a really nice card to just add. One of the better cards that is really accessible and really powerful for budget players is DD Crow. There's a lot of weird rulings, but if something targets something else in the graveyard and you banish the target, then they don't get their effects based off of it. So it's really nice. Also with ABCs, you can banish their stuff, and then they can't go into their monster. And once again, this card is a really good counter for ABCs, but a lot of the decks don't really banish anymore. But with Infernoids coming back into the meta after the Spiral hit, this is a really good card to invest in. I was trying to get a playset of these, but he wanted to keep his playset. He had 4. He wanted to keep his playset so that he could obviously sell them for more money later on. Also, guys, we do have a Destrudo, and this is kind of a filler card, but I don't really want to call it that because I actually wanted this card to be in here. It's not like a card that I put in because I had extra space. Sort of. I had extra space in the extra deck, just 1 extra spot, so I decided to just put in a level 7 Synchro and a Destrudo, which you do want to side this card out against Trickstars, and my recommendation would probably be an Instant Fusion and then a level 4 Earth Fusion monster, because that allows you to go into Mystic Radiant, or it also allows you to go into like a Baguska, which is something else that we do run. Okay, guys, next up we have the entire Zoodiac engine, all of it right here. So this is the monster lineup actually, and one thing that most people will say is a little bit controversial about this deck is I'm only running a single barrage, and the reason I'm running a single barrage is just I feel like Tenki's a more valuable card now. I do not run mistakes, so Tenki is usable with mistake, and that's actually one of the things that I really felt was bad about running a lot of these certain certain floodgates, because it affected you as well. So I've kind of added some different floodgates that affect other people, but we'll get to that in a second. Right now we're on the Zoodiac, so if you don't draw a Zoodiac, basically you lose, especially if you draw a Destrudo no Zoodiac or a Gofu no Zoodiac. That's a huge problem that you can run into. I'm not really going to go over what all of them do. Basically, he gives piercings to Xyz monsters, he banishes monsters that the Xyz monster attacks, he protects the monster from traps, but he's also got 2,000 defense, which is really nice. And he can summon another Rapier from deck, but he is at 1. They also do have some other effects, but we won't really go into those right now. This is the most important of his effects because he can attach himself to the Xyz monster during either player's turn as like a hand trap. So that's one of the better ones because you can add that on whenever they attack it. When it's low attack, then it'll boost its attack and then banish the card, which is really nice. Okay, guys, next up we have kind of the searching ratio, because the new age Zodiacs, doesn't really matter what Zodiac you have as long as you do have a Whiptail. And basically the only thing you're going to be searching with this card is most of the time it's going to be a Whiptail. And what you can do is just add the Whiptail to hand with this, which is why I think it's a little bit more superior, because you can add the Whiptail to hand. Although your opponent, you do have to reveal it so your opponent does know you have it, it's still something that makes your opponent scared to attack your Xyz monsters. And then also you can maybe just put it on just for some other sorts of plays. Whereas Barrage destroys something else you control, which there's not a lot of stuff that you want to destroy other than possibly Ram. But even if you do destroy Ram, you're probably not going to have anything in your grave, since the Zoodiac engine isn't really as fast as it once was. It's kind of just Zodiacs. And the Barrage, basically, you can destroy itself, but then you don't get like a reoccurrence effect, and that's one of the only thing that keeps it like really good anymore. So, I mean, a lot of people say this card's broken, but I really feel like Tinky's a lot better just for the Whiptail plays. Okay, next up, guys, we kind of have the draw powers. So we're just running 2 Desires and 1 Upstart. Upstart is, you can possibly drop this or maybe another Destrudo. But that is a possibility. Maybe even another Instant Fusion, because it does give your opponent 1,000, and this deck already has a slightly hard time finishing off people. One of the cards in the extra deck that is not very used very much is Borbo, which I know that people say that attacking directly isn't always the best thing you can do, but I feel like that extra little attack directly can win you a lot of games very easily. And this has seemed to show itself quite a lot with a lot of different plays, because I've been able to finish people off with Borbo and yeah, that kind of stuff, but I keep on getting off track here. Pot of Desires draws +1, -10, and then we also have Upstart Goblin, which is even trade, except your opponent doesn't get 1,000, so yeah. For Spell Trap removal, there's a lot of different choices in today's meta, like Cosmic Cyclone. MST itself is a card that people like to run, just because whenever using Cosmic Cyclone, you pay 1,000, and then you destroy a card, but paying that 1,000 just gets Trickstar, or you don't destroy, you banish. Paying that 1,000 just lets Trickstar get another step ahead on really executing you, and just destroying you. So I think that one's not as good. Twin Twisters is I know that there's not a lot of decks that set full back rows anymore, so MST just kind of overshadows most of these. But Twin Twisters, whenever you do get it off, is a really even nice trade. And also, if you have another hand trap in your hand and your opponent's playing a deck that hand trap doesn't affect, Twin Twisters makes that a really good target just to remove it from your hand and also get some actual value out of it whenever it's basically dead in your hand. And also, guys, we do run a single Scapegoat, so there you go. Okay, guys, we're into the floodgates. Right here, we do have Solemn Strike. I know one of them's secret, the other 2 are super, don't mind that. Now, here's the thing. A lot of people run 2 Strike and 1 Warning, but in today's meta, I think that the monster negation is a little bit more relevant, along with not having to pay another 1,000, because I know that Solemn Warning can stop a normal summon. That's all it can do. It can stop a normal summon, or like the spell or trap that's about to summon, but I just think that Solemn Strike is a little bit better, especially with Baguska, because if your opponent somehow like gets the Baguska, I don't know, if you don't strike the Bagusa on summon, you can strike it when its effect activates, something like that. Because notice you can actually hide it in a chain, but then whenever its effect goes active, it makes everything else defense. Then you can negate it right then and there. I'm not sure on the rulings on that. So if anyone can tell me in the comments whether you can actually negate his effect if it's an activation or not. But yeah, Strike's pretty good, so there's that. Okay, next up, guys, we basically have the rest of the hand traps. So right off the bat, we have Mind Crush, which is actually a really good card, and this is something that someone pointed out to me. A lot of people are using that Wiretap to counter cards, or the new card evenly matched, whereas Mind Crush is even better, because if your opponent doesn't play anything, goes straight to the battle phase, then you know they have an evenly matched, and you can activate this card, getting rid of the evenly matched after calling it, sending it to the graveyard, and then leaving your opponent with no battle phase for that turn, and also a minus on their part. And if they don't have it, and also another thing is if you do draw into both, you activate the first one, and then obviously you don't know what they have unless you get lucky, but you just call a random card that's possibly in their archetype. If they don't have it, you discard a card, activate the other one, then you can basically discard any card from their hand, since you do get to see their hand on the first activation, even though you have to discard a card, you still get to view their hand, and then you can like discard another one. It's also kind of like an Ash Blossom, because whenever they search something, they must reveal it, and after they've revealed it, then you can use Mind Crush to call the card they just revealed, and then send it to the graveyard. We also have Rocket Hand, which is kind of a battle trap, kind of destruction. So basically, you can target a monster that that has 800 or more. It gains 800, and then also you can send Rocket to grave and destroy one card your opponent controls. And then also, it doesn't really matter for Zoodiacs, because once you exceed up, then it gains all the attack of the monsters again, and the 0 doesn't really matter. Also, and the Band Played On is really nice, although it does kind of affect the way that we play the game, that the Zoodiacs kind of run. It's still really, really powerful, and I really like it. We also have 2 Mirror Force of any type, doesn't really matter, and then we also have a Gozen Match. You could run multiples of this, but that's basically it for the floodgates. Also, guys, before we continue on, just a heads up, the reason I'm not running Mistake is because it counters Tinky, and the reason I'm not running like Anti-Spell Fragrance or what's it called? Imperial Order is once again because it counters Tinky, and I've actually lost games because of Imperial Order where I can't use any spells, so I can't search, and also I take damage every turn, and then also with Trick Stars, Imperial Order isn't that good anymore. And okay guys, last but not least, we also have a Zoodiac combo, which is kind of another search, but it adds it from the deck to the monster. This is kind of another form of Whiptail, because you can activate this, add the Whiptail, and then it gets its effect if it was just attacked. It can also recycle 5 Zoodiacs, but we're probably never going to use that effect, since we barely even run like 10 Zoodiacs in general. The possibility of us getting 5 in the graveyard is really low unless we're going against like a stall deck. Okay guys, this is what we run for the Zoodiac Xyz lineup. We basically just run 2 of all the legal or best ones. I don't know if there's any others, but if there were, they're probably not going to use them. This is probably my favorite card in the new meta, since there's a lot of combos that usually consist of going into one of these 2 to add them back from the graveyard and stuff, and this can get a Whiptail, summon it, and then next turn, during your opponent's turn, then the Whiptail can add, because the effect's going to get until the end of that turn, and then Whiptail can add from field or hand to an Xyz. You can do a few combos using her also to summon this guy, then use this guy to attach material to him, and then you can have a protected Zoodiac from targeting. This guy can also make your opponent, it can also attack directly by itself, so if you can get several Zoodiacs, like one time I opened a Thoroughblade and 2 Whiptails, and also something to search, so what I was able to do is Thoroughblade, send a Whiptail, draw 1, then I could get my search to search another Whiptail, and then I could go into Hammer Kong, then Tiger Mortar, add the Whiptail back, then I go into our Borbo, and then just attach all the Whiptails and deal a ton of damage, since we also do piercing to defense, banishes whatever it attacks. Also, what you can do is if you have more Tiger Mortars during the next turn, you can add more, or maybe if you have this, you can add more Whiptails. I don't really recommend stacking up Borbo unless you know you're going to get the win. You know they don't really have any battle traps to destroy you, but yeah, that's basically it for our Xyz lineup. Okay guys, next up we do have a few things that are not actually part of the archetype. I do have a few combos that do allow you to get out Bagushka, most of them consisting of just, I think it's, like, I know Chak 9 makes it to where you can't, it's mostly Barrage, because you can destroy the Barrage by itself, summon Zoodiac, and then go to Bagushka, which basically is an instant win, under some occasions, because it gives you 2 turns to set up a lot of, First of all, with Floodgates in general and this guy on the field, it's basically a free win. And this is also our monster that we do summon using our Destrudo, but there's some better level 7s, especially that field wiping one, I think it's like the Black Rose Dragon. But since this one does have a negation, sort of, I really like it, and so yeah. Okay guys, next up we have the links. We do have these 2 for Mrs. Radiant with Go Food, and we also have the token. Whenever we do go into all the tokens, most of the time we're going to go into 2 Link Spiders, a Radiant, and then from there, actually guys, sorry about this, you do run another Link Spider or a Proxy Dragon, because you can't actually use both tokens to go in him, or I mean into her, unless you use another Link Spider, or you replace her with Proxy Dragon, so don't run Eve unless you run another Link Spider. Sorry about that guys, but yeah. And then we also run Topwatch Bomber Dragon as kind of a really cool boss monster. It does wipe your field or it does blow up the field, the main monster zones if something summoned to a zone it's point to. But if you already have Mrs. Radiant on the field, you scapegoat and then you summon this guy in one of its other zones. You still have another zone, and then you have this guy who's got 3k, can like attack over. So it's really good. Sometimes you can go into a double Mrs. Radiant, but most of the time we don't do that, so we do only run one Mrs. Radiant. Okay guys, thank you for watching this video. I do have profiles on a few other decks, so go ahead and check out my channel for more of that. Also guys, don't forget to leave a like and go ahead and tell me in the comments what you thought of the video. And I'll see you guys in the next one.